About 25,000 people die each year within 5 years of reaching their state pension age. What that means is this year, 25,000 people are going to retire at age 66, and very sadly, they're not going to make it to age 71. So after working and paying national insurance for at least 35 years, and in some cases for a lot longer than that, have you ever thought about what happens to your state pension when you die? Does decades of national insurance and your unpaid state pension, does that go to your spouse, or does it just get snatched up by the state? As you can imagine, the rules that are wrapped around this can be very complex. And in this week's video, I'm going to explain the dark and sometimes murky truth about your state pension on death, who gets it, and importantly, who loses out. Hi, my name is Simon, and I'm a chartered financial planner with decades of experience helping hundreds of families prepare ahead for their future with confidence by keeping more from what they've earned. Now, almost everybody thinks that the state pension is going to die with them, but that's not always necessarily the case. The whole state pension system is horrifically complicated, so it's going to be useful for us to take a step back and look down at the bigger picture so it makes a little bit more sense. In short, your spouse can inherit part of your state pension, so please follow along with us so you don't miss out on anything that you're entitled to. I'm also going to cover some other bereavement benefits that you can claim later in the video, and I'm also going to link the contact numbers as well as the website addresses in the description, as well as a link to the full rules which you can then refer back to and use as a valuable resource. Now, as we all know, the state pension is a lifeline for millions of people, with 12.9 million people receiving the state pension in 2024, with 8.6 million pensioners receiving the old state pension and 4.3 million pensioners receiving the new single-tier state pension, which came into force on the 6th of April 2016. Now, this split and this difference between the two state pensions that are in force at the moment, that's the old and the new, that's really important, and I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes. Now, I've put a chart on screen which is from the DWP, and it shows those who are claiming the old state pension in blue and those who are claiming the new state pension in orange. Now, as you can see, the people claiming the new state pension is increasing, and you can see that on the right-hand side of the chart. There's also an estimated 400,000 people are going to reach the state pension age each year. So the rules governing what happens to your state pension on death is an absolute labyrinth, and any wrong turn may mean that you or your spouse could lose out. Now, there's no surprises for guessing that the state isn't going to track this, and they're not just going to hand over any state pension to your spouse. They also insist that very specific conditions are met, and if not, they are going to keep the money. So essentially, the fate of your state pension is going to depend when you or your spouse reach your state pension age, and that is currently 66 years old. That's going to be rising to age 67, and that's going to be phased in by April 2028. Now, the state pension framework is split into the old rules for those who reach the pension age before April 2016, and the new rules for those who are going to reach their state pension age after April 2016. So that's our important date to remember. That's the 6th of April 2016, and that is most definitely our line in the sand. So for each of these options, the old state pension and the new state pension, both of those have got different inheritance rules. It's also worthwhile mentioning that these rules only apply to married couples or those in a civil partnership. These rules do not apply if you've got a partner, even if you're living with them, and it also doesn't matter if you've got children with your partner either. Under the old state pension, you need 30 qualifying years to get the maximum state pension. Under the new state pension rules, you need 35 qualifying years. But if you contracted out at some stage in your career, either directly or indirectly by joining a workplace pension scheme, you might then need more than 35 years to get the maximum state pension. So I've tried to summarize these rules in a graphic on screen to explain this. So what are your options if you reach state pension age before 2016? So your spouse can inherit part of your basic state pension if they don't receive the full amount of £176.45 a week under the current tax year. They can also use your national insurance record to boost their own state pension. They can also inherit your additional state pension, such as SERPS or S2P, and that's the second state pension. If your state pension was deferred, your spouse can inherit the extra payments as a lump sum. So as a very gentle reminder, SERPS was a government pension scheme that provided a top-up of the basic state pension, and that was based on your earnings and your national insurance contributions. And that was aimed at boosting the retirement income for employees, not the self-employed, but you could also choose to contract out of SERPS, and that then lowered your national insurance contributions, and then some of these savings were then diverted into your own personal pension. Now, S2P was the state second pension. Now, this replaced SERPS in 2002, and this was designed to improve the pension income for those on lower incomes, such as carers, for example, and was also possible to contract out of that as well. Now, both of these additional state pension options ended in April 2016 with the start of the new single-tier state pension. Now, it's also worthwhile mentioning that there was an option to defer claiming your state pension, and that was then boosted or increased as a reward for not taking the state pension straight away. Now, before 2006, you'd have got a 10.4% boost for every year that you deferred taking your state pension, but this was later reduced to 5.8% after 2006. So if you're finding value in this video about what happens to your state pension on death, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, do you think this whole state pension process should be made much, much easier for us to understand? Let me know in the comments below. So what are your options if you reach the state pension age after April 2016? Well, this is where some of the options to inherit part of the state pension become a little more difficult. Your spouse can't claim your national insurance record to increase their state pension. However, your spouse can claim any of your SERPS that was accrued before 2016. Your spouse can also claim any deferred pension that they're entitled to. Now, the full state pension at the moment is £230.25 a week. But for some people, including those who didn't contract out, it's possible that they may get more than £230.25 a week. Now, this extra income is called a protected amount, and this can also be inherited. But there's a catch. You must have reached your own state retirement age before you get any of these inherited benefits. And if you marry again before you reach state pension age, you get absolutely nothing. What that means is if no eligible spouse exists, the state pension benefit disappears into the state's financial coffers to be spent as they see fit. There's no refund of your national insurance contributions, and there's no extra money that's going to get paid into your estate either. Now, that's a lot of money being taken from 25,000 people each year who don't make it 5 years beyond reaching their state pension age. The state pension is not an inheritance plan, but that doesn't mean that you can't benefit from this if you understand the rules. So make sure you get everything that you're entitled to. Now, here's some other bereavement support that you might be entitled to as well. We've got the bereavement support payment. Now, this includes a lump sum of £2,500 and up to 18 months of payments of £100. But your spouse would have needed to have 25 years national insurance contributions to qualify for this. We've also got the widowed parent allowance. So if you've got dependent children under the age of 19, you could also get up to £150.90 a week as well. You may also be entitled to funeral expenses payment. If you're on low income and claiming universal credit, you might also be able to claim funeral costs. Now, there's a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation about the state pension, so I've linked a further 2 videos about the 5 biggest lies told about the state pension, and they're also going to take a deeper look as to why you might need more than 35 years national insurance to get the maximum state pension. So thank you for watching to the very end and for your time and for your patience as always, and we'll see you all again next week.